How you make lobster bisque, and I tell you what, blow your socks off and it'll set apart the men from the boys, I can tell you right now. But all that yellow stuff and mush and guts in there, we want to get right in there. Alright, just a quick hot tip. Right, I have it on good authority that the crayfish, the white run, is starting today. That is the 28th of November, based on fisheries data, which is pretty consistent and pretty much on the mark. Get out there, start in the shallows, like sub-10s, and that's where they'll start, and then they'll start progressively getting into the deeper water as those waters start to warm up a bit more. Now this date, there is a caveat. This is for the Perth Metro, so if you're north of the river, well north past Two Rocks and etc., they will run earlier. And if you're south of the Perth Metro area, say Mandurah, they may be a few more days yet. So that's the caveat. Hopefully you got your pots in. If not, get out there this weekend and start in the shallows and then work out deeper as the migration starts to progress. Good luck, fishos. G'day, fishos. We're going out to check the cray pots again. It's approaching that full moon time, where the crays will start to slow down after this full moon. So what I'll do is probably give it another week or so, and then I'll pull the pots. So then wait for the whites. Now I want to talk about the pots that I'm using at the moment. So the reason why I got these galvanized plates, so hot dipped galvanized, how anodes work basically is when they're in the water they prevent corrosion. You have them on jetties, you have them on anything metallic that's in the water. It's a sacrificial element that corrodes without corroding the rest of the steel structure, and that works well in water. However, when you pull them out, your cray pots start to rust, okay? And that's because the anodes don't have as much effect as what they do in the water. Now the only way you prevent that is by actually putting a coating on your metal structures. So like your ColourBond veranda at home, that'll has some sort of zinc coating on it, plus a ColourBond coating. It prevents any sort of environmental factors to get to your metal structures to rust it. So in theory, anodes are great when they're in the water, out of the water not so great, and that's when your pots start to corrode at home. And that's where most of your damage to your pots is done, when they're out of the water. So having these galvanized plates, what it means is that they're not only protected in the water, but also out of the water, which in theory should last a lot longer because the corrosion will be very minimal. I understand that there's some people that were like, well, you're going to scratch it and all that stuff. Yeah, that's fantastic, but that's only like 0.1% of the whole metal structure, right? Yeah, I kind of feel that these should last a lot longer. We'll wait and see over the next few years how long they last, but I'm certainly tired of replacing those bottom metal bases after about four years. I usually do one replacement and then replace the whole pot. So about 8 years, you could say, is how long I have my pots for. With these frames, I'm expecting that I don't need to change out the metal bases. It'd be more about the structural integrity, such as the bolts, the nails, screws, and things like that, that'll start to fall apart well before the bases do. So we'll wait and see what happens, and I can tell you right now, it's a lot easier to replace bits of wood or a nail than it is a whole base. The weather is a bit etchy sketch. It's coming from a southeaster. We've got about 1.2 to 1.3 metre seas, which is quite rough. But because it's an easterly, I don't expect that sea will be a factor until about 10k out, and we're only going about 5k's out. So it'll be a bit rough, but it should be okay. All right, we'll catch you out there.
Welcome to my party, we're just getting started. A life is a dream or a nightmare scarring. Hand me a drink cause I think I'm going all in. Get me a shrink who can catch me when I'm falling. Cover up my scars, flip the handlebars, crashing in my car, wake up in a bar. I'll be a superstar, just on my avatar. This world is so bizarre, empty out the reservoir. Yeah, I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay. I think I'm going crazy. Don't think.
Well, it's definitely pretty rough out here. A few white caps and stuff around. It's not too dangerous either. So just arrived at the pot, just got prepared, got the knife ready, gauge ready, everything's ready to rock and roll, and we'll go pick up some crays. Hit that pot a little bit hard. Okay, the cray rope's starting to get a bit icky as well. Got crays. I don't know how many though. Just the 2. Okay, just the 2 crays. Well over. Okay, should be roughly around there. Right, got some water for the crays. Keep them happy, or happy as they can be. Last pot. What have we got? Four. One, two, three, 4 crays. So again, easy tear off is you just grab it, just tear it like a piece of paper, and it comes straight off. Snapper head and a bigger guts. Can we fit this in? I reckon we might. There's the head and guts. There we go. Wedge that up there so it doesn't rock around. That's why I got this bucket here with my bait in, by the way. So I sit it on the corner on the Perspex. And this doesn't shift, so when I'm driving, unless I hit a real big wave, as long as I take it easy, this won't shift and it stays steady. That's my little system anyway. Now I've just left the motor in gear. That helps me release the float. There we go. A bit more water. I just want to talk about the red run. So as you can see, they're not big numbers on the sand, but they're consistent numbers. So I've been checking these consistently every 2 days, and I've been getting about 6 to 8 crays, well, what is it, 5 to 8 crays every morning, right? So, and they're on the sand, they're not under, there's not a ledge there that I rely upon. What I really want to do is prove to you guys that there is a red run that comes through and you can do pretty well and save yourself the hassle of fighting idiots at the boat ramp during December. All right, anyway, so we're going to go head in. We'll see you back at home.
Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless, a sea of the aimless. I don't wanna be one of the nameless. I'ma wake up with the mindset that one day I'm gonna make it, and I don't think I'll be fine if I don't break my limitations. Don't try to stop me, I exist to write my own story. I'll make a decision if I want some peace or if I want the glory. Yeah, don't want a life that is complacent or possibly boring. I just want a life that is worth every day exploring.
My whole life I just wanted someone who would notice me. My whole life I just wanted to be somebody to be. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great.
G'day fishers. What we're going to do today is we're going to make some lobster bisque. So it's a great way to use all your crayfish, not put anything to waste. And it's also for you shellfish lovers that really love that lobster taste. This is the dish for you. This is the dish that sets the boys away from the men as well. So if you reckon you like crayfish and you don't like lobster bisque, then you don't like crayfish. Simple as that. So let's get into it. We'll just quickly run through the ingredients. Got some cream, some cayenne pepper, 3 litres of fish stock, some tomato paste, some white wine, parsley and bay leaves, some thyme, some salt and pepper, 2 onions, 3 carrots, some of your favourite bourbon or whiskey, and a knob of butter, and the grey heads. We're going to use 4 today, and some extra legs for some more extra meat. So depends on how much lobster you want in your bisque. You can tone this down, use 1 or 2 or 3. I like just going for the full flavour because, yeah, I'm not a boy. Let's get into making this stuff. These carrots and the tomato paste are going to make the bisque a nice red, sort of orangey colour. So very important. Boom, through the magic of YouTube, we have some chopped carrot. Also forgot to mention about the ingredients, some garlic knobs as well. All right, we're going to chuck this in the pan. Make some onion. Now we're going to finally dice the onion. And through the magic of YouTube, boom, done. Chop up the garlic as well. And we'll chuck this in the pan. Just onion and carrot. Now we're going to sweat that down for, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. But we're also going to add bay leaves, thyme and some parsley. So I just like to break up these bay leaves. These are from my tree in the front of my yard. And some parsley. And some thyme. Now we won't add salt and pepper at this point because the stock itself will reduce down and add a bit of saltiness to it. So we'll just cook this and sweat this down for a bit. Now we'll sweat this off with an olive butter. There's a bit of olive oil in there as well, but this is a rather rich dish, so plenty of butter. Now I'm just frying this off on a really high heat, and then once we add the crayfish, then we'll turn it down. But at the moment it's just on a high heat, trying to really get the simmer up, trying to get some fond happening. So once that starts happening is when we'll add the crayfish. By the way, if you're judging me because of my dirty stove top, you don't cook. It'll get clean another day. This is sweated down a fair bit. It's starting to get some fond in some areas, which I've just scraped off. We can start adding the cray heads. Now you want a nice big pan for this that has high sides because you're making a soup effectively. Alright, there we go. And we'll chuck in the cray legs as well. Sometimes these feelers are a bit of a pain, so I just cut them off. Now crayfish heads are in, what we want to do is cover them until they're all fully cooked the way through and all those shells go that nice orange that we know. By the way, don't judge me. I do not condone this guy. Especially after he went a bit wild. It's just that his cooking stuff was quite cheap at the time and a good deal. So anyway, we'll cover that up. Do not condone. Okay, so this has been cooking for about, I don't know, 8 minutes or so. And starting to get some real colour to our crayfish now. So I think that one can do it with a bit longer though. But you'll see it's starting to burn around the edges here as well, which is exactly what you want. Now we're going to add some of our dimple and do a flambe. So for those who don't know, that means make flame. So just going to add it, good wallop of that. Take a step back. Just give that a couple of minutes to die down. If you're not experienced with doing flambe, I don't recommend doing it for your first time. You don't need to, but it just crisps up some of the crayfish and adds a bit of extra flavour, they reckon. But I don't know. Alright, once we're done that, we're going to take these out and we'll extract this meat later when it's cooled down. But what we will do is we're going to pick up these heads and then scrape out a lot of that stuff inside. So what you want to do is get right in there. Be a big chunk of meat, and we'll keep that. But all that yellow stuff and mush and guts in there, we want to get right in there and pull all that out. Now depending on how much you can handle, that is, we'll put those aside and we'll deal with them later to get the meat off them, and we'll add that to the soup later. So that yellow stuff, that's the good stuff. Crayfish mustard. And we'll get the meat out of those legs and stuff later and we'll add it to the soup. Now we've got all the mustard out. It's all mixed up in there. Bit like a dog's breakfast. Next we're going to start adding liquids. First we'll start off with this cheap bottle of Aldi wine. Good cup of that stuff in there. Alright, wait for that wine to get to a simmer, and then we're just going to add the fish stock. So you just want to boil off some of the alcohol from that wine first. Once that's boiled off a bit, let's start adding our fish stock. While we let that boil, I'm just going to add some tomato paste, just a couple of tablespoons. Now depending on how spicy you like it, some cayenne pepper, and now some salt and pepper. Not too much because we've got the stock in there that we're going to reduce down. Now we'll just get that well incorporated and let that cook out for a while and simmer down. We're just going to extract some of the meat out of the legs and whatever's left on the head. Now this takes a little while, so okay, once you're done extracting all the meat, we're going to chuck these back in the sauce and let that simmer down for the next half an hour or so. That's all the meat we got left out of those legs and some of the heads. Okay, this is about 45 minutes later and these have been simmering down, probably dropped by about half at least. Now we take these out and you can scrape out more of the mustard if you want, but for crayfish will be plenty. Next we just take out those bay leaves we put in. Now we blend. So we add about a big knob of butter. That'll help emulsify the sauce or the soup. And then we start blending. Alright, I'm just going to let that simmer for a little while. Make sure it's the right consistency. No chunky bits in there, which looks like there might be, so I'll give it another blend. So I'll let that just simmer down for a bit. This should be nice and a little bit thick, and we'll add some cream to that to thin it out a bit. Time to give it a taste. Ooh. Very nice. I don't think that needs any more salt, so I'll leave it as is. We'll have some cream though. So add a little bit of cream, just to line it up a bit. And we'll add some more to the servings. Now not quite done yet, but we're going to add back all this lobster leg and whatever's in there, the head. Let that just simmer for a bit. Basically get a ladle, fill up a bowl, make sure you get some of those crayfish in there, all those legs and bits and pieces. And then a bit of cream. That, my friends, is Lobster Bisque. Very, very rich recipe, so be warned. That lobster mustard just really blows your socks off. So be prepared, and also just be prepared for your wife or partner to not like the smell throughout your house either. Now, lobster bisque is definitely a sometimes food, so I like to freeze it up in little batches, put it in the freezer for future, but serve it with some cheesy toasty bread or something like that, really nice. So lobster bisque is a really nice recipe to get the most out of your catchy crayfish. So instead of ditching those heads in the bin, stinking up your bin, you can actually do something with them. And tell you what, it's bloody good if you like crayfish, that is. If you don't like crayfish, you say you do, this will tell you whether you do or not. This recipe absolutely will. So if you think you like crayfish, you'll definitely know after having this. Anyways, we'll catch you in the next episode of WA Fishing. Hopefully you like this recipe, and if you do, leave a comment down below and I may do some more. Anyway, catch you later.